Okay, we might as well start with the present. Okay. First of all, I'd like to say on this Sabbath, all praises be to Ahaya Bahashim Yeshaya Wavarwak, the Most High, in the name of Christ. Okay. Hope you all are doing well this Sabbath. We might as well start with the present. All right. When I say the present, what's going on in the earth today? Now, I might as well start with what's actually going on while the world have been what you would call moved in the wrong direction with the diversion called the Boston Marathon. So why the whole world was getting diverted with the Boston Marathon, which we can touch on in a moment, something of great significance, of biblical proportion, have happened last week under everyone's nose. If you notice, I know you all see this, how they're using what they call false flag attacks or events. They usually call them events that they use in an effort to engage population into the next agenda. It's event after event. All these things are pre-planned, what legislation they'll bring forth, and how much more military will be in your presence engaging you based on these pretexts or plans through government. You know, it's the same thing over and over again. Something happens. A drill is going on while it's happening. Then the governor comes out. Then the police commissioner comes out at a press conference. The next day there's a manhunt. Then the day after that they find the guy, quote unquote, usually it's a patsy, somebody that was on drugs or under some program under government or was under government surveillance being utilized. And then they put it on the patsy, and then you think the story go away, but it doesn't go away, because whatever legislation that was passed to engage or to get in your space or take away rights have now been in place, and they will never get revoked again. Which means whatever implemented, that's what's implemented. That's what you can look forward to for the foreseeable future. Now, of course, some people was alarmed, and I wasn't even going to touch on it today, but I thought I would talk about it just a little bit. Some brothers and sisters were alarmed with what happened in Massachusetts. We got brothers and sisters in Massachusetts. The fact that there was a lockdown where no one could leave their houses for an extended period of time until these so-called suspects was apprehended. And they said, don't open the door, don't go anywhere unless, you know, don't open the door unless authority asks you to open the door. Really what that is, outright, all over Massachusetts, that was a beta test of what you would call a drill for martial law. They get people acclimated into listening to government, staying in your house, martial law, military's on the street, and that's what they're acclimating the society with. So this don't have anything to do with that Boston thing. You understand? I mean, that whole thing, you all know what that is. We don't have to go into it. A matter of fact, just assume and know that none of that even happened. If you believe any of those stories, if you believe any part of those stories, you believe the story. That's the whole point. While you sitting there picking apart some diversion they've created, something else is happening of higher biblical proportion. That means more than what you're actually seeing. It's a switch and bait. You understand? They want everyone to look at Boston Marathon. They want everyone to look at what's blown up, who's the guy, and they'll be talking on the news, who's this guy, who was his parents, where did he go to school. All these things will be going on for the next 2-3 weeks. It went from Dorner to this guy. First it was Dorner, which was preparing people to be engaged by government coming into your space. But who knows who Dorner is? He just came out of nowhere. As far as we all know, this guy, open the door to get down. This guy it could be a figment of someone's imagination. Who knows that that even happened? But they're moving population from one point to the next. First Dorner, now these guys. All right? Wait, put that down. Yeah. First Dorner, now these guys. All right? Now, so what was going on? What is going on while everyone is looking at the Boston Marathon? I want you to check this out and tell me if this is more important than what they're showing you. I have an article here. Okay? Can you, and then, listen, this is mainstream news. Here's an article. And it's from the Haaretz. H-A-A-R-E-T-Z. Okay? It's a mainstream Jewish newspaper. Mainstream. So while the switch and bait is going on, I like to look at what they're talking about. What does this say in the Haaretz?
This is from Haaretz, Israel News. It says U.S. Senate committee passes resolution to back Israel in conflict with Iran.
Read that title again.
U.S. Senate committee passes resolution to back Israel in conflict with Iran.
U.S. Senate committee passes resolution to back Israel in conflict with Iran. So what are they really preparing the world for? Okay. What are they really getting in place with all these false flags? What they're getting in place? Military intervention for when there's World War III. They're putting the infrastructure in place. That's what's going on. It have nothing to do with the Boston Marathon. They have nothing to do with Dorner. They have nothing to do with anything they tell you. They're actually putting their military grid in place for war. What war? The greatest and most damning war that have ever hit this planet, according to the Bible. See, that's what's really going on. I'm above even searching these false flag things anymore, from Sandy Hook on and on and on. Because what they're doing is they're moving from place to place, implementing military intervention and getting the grid in place for war that actually leads to the fall of Babylon altogether. Look what happened in Texas. Oh, some fertilizer plant or something just blows up from nowhere. Oh, you thought it was just coincidence right after the Boston Marathon. Oh, in Texas, something blows up. Well, come to find out, all these governors that have these false flags under them are one of the 10 governors that will be under the executive order when there's martial law implemented. And believe it or not, it's already been implemented. They're just using these slow, gradual scenarios to get you acclimated to what law enforcement is already dealing with. That's why law enforcement are operating the way they're operating right now. That's why it seems like they're on edge and things, you understand, like they've been prepped to go against population. So they're trying to get everyone acclimated. Okay? That's what's really going on. Acclimated into what? The preparation for World War III. I need you to read that again, that article there. Go ahead.
U.S. Senate committee passes resolution to back Israel in conflict with Iran.
Read it again.
U.S. Senate committee passes resolution to back Israel in conflict with Iran.
U.S. Senate committee passes resolution to back Israel in conflict with Iran. Now listen to what the resolution says. Go ahead.
It says, Resolution 65 goes beyond affirming U.S. commitment to preventing a nuclear Iran to ensure it will authorize the use of military force, diplomatic, military, and economic support to Israel in its defense of its territory, people, and existence. While Israel was marking 65 years of independence on Tuesday, the U.S. Senate Foreign Relations Committee voted to endorse Resolution 65, affirming that the U.S. will fully back Israel should it be drawn into conflict with Iran. The resolution, introduced by Senator Robert Menendez, Democrat, New Jersey, and Lindsey Graham, Republican, I'm assuming that's South Carolina.
Yeah, Republican of South Carolina, to show you that it have nothing to do with Democrat or Republican. They're on the same team. They just caused this division within the process so that people can believe that there's one side fighting for people and there's another side fighting for the people, when it's really divide and conquer. When the Democrats and Republicans are really on the same team and just appear to be dealing with divide when they before the public. You understand? But really they're working together. Democrats and Republicans alike have signed this bill. Go ahead.
It says the resolution, introduced by Senators Robert Menendez and Lindsey Graham, and which has 79 co-sponsors, is expected to pass in the Senate. According to the text of the resolution on the U.S. Congress website, the goal of the resolution is that if the government of Israel is compelled to take military action in legitimate self-defense against Iran's nuclear weapons program.
Now listen to how it's worded. In direct defense against Iran's nuclear weapons program. That means Iran didn't strike them. Iran didn't use any nuclear weapons against them. But they're making it seem as if they're using defense, like their offense is actually a defense. You see how backward speaking they are? If they feel that they need to defend themselves against a possible nuclear weapon from Iran. So it's a preemptive strike, similar to what happened with Iraq when they said that they was weapons of mass destruction. Listen.
It says if the government of Israel is compelled to take military action in legitimate self-defense against Iran's nuclear weapons program, the United States government should stand with Israel and provide, in accordance with the United States law and the constitutional responsibility of Congress, to authorize the use of military force.
To use of what?
Military force.
So what is this saying? This is saying right here that U.S. troops will be in war against Iran. And who's going to use American troops? Israel. That's what this is saying. Now what does that mean? I'm going to show you in a moment. Pull that down there. Go ahead.
So it says, in accordance with the United States law and the constitutional responsibility of Congress to authorize the use of military force,
go ahead,
diplomatic, military, and economic support to the government of Israel in defense of its territory, people, and existence.
Go ahead.
The text of the resolution includes several clauses.
Go ahead.
It says the text of the resolution includes several clauses relating to the U.S. government's position on Iran. The Department of State has designated the Islamic Republic of Iran as a state sponsor of terrorism since 1984, and has characterized the Islamic Republic of Iran as the most active state sponsor of terrorism in the world.
I heard that before. Go ahead.
The government of the Islamic Republic of Iran has provided weapons, training, and funding to the regime of Bashar al-Assad that has been used to suppress and murder its own people.
Now my question is, if Iran is not directly threatening America, and they're not directly threatening Israel, and they, listen, they haven't done anything to America. What do America have to do with this? What at all? If they're saying, if what they're saying is true, that Israel is a sovereign country, why must our people in the ghetto, people who recruited in the slums to fight in these wars, what is it about you? How can this war become your war? How can our people who are poor people go over and fight a war against Iran? What have Iranians did to our people? And just say if Israel do got a problem with them, what do that got to do with poor people, recruiting poor people out of our neighborhoods to fight their wars? What? Shouldn't Israel, if Israel got a beef with whatever country, I'm talking about on the surface. I'm going to show you what the scriptures say anyway. But if you're buying the authoritative narrative, one would think that, you know, that Americans are supposed to die for Israelis. Is that so? When it's not the politicians' children dying in these wars? George Bush's children are not going to die in these wars. Barry Soetoro never served anything. Okay, so just think about this for a moment. They're going to recruit the poor people in our neighborhoods and going to claim that it's better life for you to go and fight Israel's war. That listen, it's better than you just being on the street and being jobless. Go fight for your country. But are you fighting for your country? Why is the Senate passing these bills that mean your children go to fight a war that have nothing to do with you? Think about that for a moment. And this war don't end the way you think it will end. And I'm going to go into that. This is not, I don't know what people think concerning this country that they have just declared war against. Okay, but this is not going to be a cakewalk here. Now, some more news. I'm going to go into the scriptures in a moment concerning that. There's something else key. Some of you may have gotten wind last year with the so-called revolution over in Egypt. There's some key news that links all this together that I'm going to go into, and I'm setting the stage with these news articles first. Usually in the academy we do go into these news articles in length and able to talk about them and what is their relation to prophecy. And we do that every week, every Sunday at the academy. But I thought I would bring some news to show you how news tie in to scripture and for you not to go for the diversion. Usually if there's a big news report that they want everyone to tune into, it's the diversion while the Senate is passing something else. That's way more important. Okay? Normally, when they're about to go to war, they sit down with their propaganda team and say, well, okay, is there a diversion we can give the people because the majority of people will not agree with another war? Okay, people don't want war. Okay, that's nothing that we welcome. So what they'll do is say, well, listen, let's give them a diversion. We have to go forward with this plan here. We must go forward with the plan. We're behind schedule. Then they'll call some people in the room and say, okay, well, we got a marathon coming up in about 7 months. Okay, well, while people are looking at that, we'll just blow a smoke bomb up or something. They'll just blow something up. And then after that, boom. You understand? Then they'll just pass some legislation while you're looking at something else. Here's something else that's going on in the news. Most people have seen probably about a year ago with this so-called revolution, which we know was also government planned. World government plan. These things were not organic at all. The U.S. ambassador, this is on Front Page Mag, and listen to what this Egyptian ambassador says. She's a U.S. ambassador to Egypt. Check out what she say here. Read.
It says, U.S. ambassador to Egypt accused of breaking Sharia law.
Go ahead.
The U.S. ambassador to Egypt, Ann Patterson, is being accused of some outlandish behavior and remarks. Last week, several Egyptian papers and websites including al-Dastur, reported that the al-Din al-Ghahari, a human rights lawyer and president of the Justice Center for Freedom and Media, submitted a complaint to the Attorney General accusing Patterson of libel and defamation of Egyptian people and making statements that are likely to disturb the society and threaten Egypt's security.
Go ahead.
According to report 935 of the Attorney General, the American ambassador, after drinking alcohol in contradiction to Islamic Sharia law, said that she rules Egypt and that the Egyptian people are under her authority.
Now, check that out. She was placed there by America after the revolution. Now, I know they had the votes and make you think that a democracy was put in order, but she told them straight off. Say that again.
According to report,
she rules Egypt.
935 of the Attorney General, the American ambassador, after drinking alcohol in contradiction to Islamic Sharia law, said that she rules Egypt.
She said that she rules Egypt.
And that the Egyptian people are under her authority.
And the Egyptian people are under her authority. The question is, who have given her the authority to be over the Egyptians? You're going to see that that's what that whole revolution was about. It was toppling Mubarak, putting their people in place so that it can be controlled by who? Listen to the article. Read.
It says, and that the Egyptian people, and that the Egyptian people are under her authority, that she controls them like a puppet.
She says that she controls them like a puppet. That's an American ambassador to Egypt. She says, we control you like a puppet. Read.
And that the Egyptian people have no idea of what is transpiring around them.
And the citizens of Egypt have no idea what is transpiring right around them. What is she saying there? And this is no different than any other country as far as legislation, where people don't understand the legislation that's going on around them while government is planning something big. You understand? She says you don't have no idea that we're looking to infiltrate all these countries. Listen to this clearly.
The report further adds, citing one of Dr. Latif Shakir, a Palestinian writer living in America, that the U.S. ambassador had earlier said that the Jews will return to Egypt in 2013.
Read that again.
It says that the U.S. ambassador had earlier said that the Jews will return to Egypt in 2013.
But yeah, you might think it'd be talking about them, right? Right? But no, they understand something. Listen to this clearly.
And that they are the masters of the earth.
Hold up now. I'm gonna sit back. Okay, I'm gonna just sit here and we're gonna examine this statement real quick. The report further adds, citing one Dr. Latif Shakir, a Palestinian writer living in America, that the U.S. ambassador had earlier said that the Jews will return to Egypt in 2013 and that they are the masters of the earth. Now, just on a separate scenario, when we visited there years ago and we sat down with a few people, and even the Egyptian people said that the black people in America are sons of Judah. They was calling us Yehudi, or the sons of Yusuf, because they knew Joseph. And they said that, listen clearly, they said that they were waiting for us to understand our place. And that the Egyptians always knew that the Jews would begin to return back in those areas. But not the Jews that you might think they're talking about. Listen to this clearly.
He goes on to say that, quote, Egypt will go bankrupt.
Listen, she told them what will happen. Now, all countries will eventually go bankrupt because they're going to look to flatline the money in an event to go into the mark of the beast, to go into what you would call an electronic pay system. So when the banks flatline all the money, of course, there's going to be a difference with some of these countries that used to operating with family, used to operating under some level of spirituality, opposed to the disconnect of the Western world. It's going to be an entirely different realm. Some places going to survive better than others, especially places that haven't got used to the lavish lifestyle. And it so happened, Egypt is one of those places. Listen to this clearly.
Egypt will go bankrupt during this year, and the Egyptians will turn to the United States to save them from famine and poverty.
She said, listen, y'all have no idea what's going on around you. That there's going to be a bankruptcy and you're going to turn to America to save you from your famine and poverty. Listen to this clearly.
The report further accuses Patterson of saying,
listen, here's another report. She's sitting there popping off to all these high diplomats. She got drunk one day and just started spewing everything. Listen to this clearly. Read.
Saying that the land of Egypt belongs to the Jews.
Belongs to who?
Belongs to the Jews.
Read on.
For it was theirs originally.
For it was theirs originally. But they're not telling you what Jews, though. See, while you're looking at the Boston Marathon and some fake legs being blown off some people with some blood and all that garbage they showing, here's some real news. Here's some real news. They know, according to prophecy, according to scripture, that the children of Israel, at the time of Israel's awakening, would begin to make their way back east. And that's why they have the grid set in place to stop people from traveling, so that they can thwart Bible prophecy. That's what's really going on in the earth. It don't have anything to do with terrorism. It has everything to do with Judah rising. Okay? Listen to this clearly. Go ahead.
It says, in that the Jews were kicked out of Egypt after building the pyramids, and DNA analysts revealed...
Hold up. And DNA analysts, this is what she told them. DNA analyst reveals what?
Reveals that King Tut was a Jew.
That King Tut was a Jew. And everyone knows King Tut is black. So what is she saying? And you know what? What she's saying is true. King Tut was a Jew during the Hyksos period. Are we teaching the Hyksos within the academy this year, or we put that on the back burner for this one?
I think if we substitute a lesson, we can teach it if we substitute another lesson.
I'm saying, but it's not in...
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah. Well, because we had the Hyksos understanding of our people ruling Egypt under Joseph and how they deceived the world into believing that Israel never went to Egypt under Manethos, an Egyptian prankster who linked them with the Greeks to hide that we were in Egypt and made Egypt great. Before our people went into the land of Canaan, we were the great Egyptians, and we had monotheism within Egypt. They got jealous, they got upset after Joseph died, and they began to come against us and separate us and look to enslave us. And eventually we were enslaved under the Egyptians before we left. But all in all, we were the people that made Egypt great. Listen to what she said, though. The Jews will return to Egypt in 2013, and that they are the masters of the earth. That Egypt will go bankrupt during this year, and Egyptians will turn to the United States to save them from famine and poverty. The report further accuses Patterson of saying that the land of Egypt belongs to the Jews, for it was theirs originally, and that the Jews were kicked out of Egypt after building the pyramids, and DNA analysis reveals that King Tut was a Jew. Now we can prove beyond, listen, we can go over a few things right now and prove beyond any shadow of a doubt that our people, before we went into Israel, black people, also Ephraimite people, the people of Puerto Rico, like Joseph, they were all Israelites living in Egypt before we went into the land of Canaan. Egypt became great because we were there. Through Abraham's seed, all nations are blessed. We went there, that nation became blessed and became a superpower. It always happens. When we went to America and they enslaved us in America, it became a superpower. Wherever the Jews are, wherever Israel is, the whole nation becomes the power of the earth. Listen to this clearly. So it says here that she admitted that the Jews will be going back and that King Tut himself was an Israelite. Now, anyone with any level of historical background or research knows that King Tut is and was a black man. As a matter of fact, the Smithsonian Institute had an excavation where they was going from place to place, showing off the what? The casket of King Tut. And you know who King Tut was black. So what is she dropping here? Listen to this clearly.
It says apparently the Palestinian Shakir's claims were made earlier this year. For the following press release appears on the U.S. Embassy in Cairo website. Statement on falsehoods in the media. Online and media reports claiming that the U.S. ambassador to Egypt, Ann W. Patterson, made statements to the website of the Israeli newspaper.
See, they make all these statements to the Israeli newspaper. They'll say all these things that they would never print in America. Read.
Made statements to the website of the Israeli newspaper Ma'arif, asserting that Israel has the right to Egyptian land.
See, but now, instead of the real Jews who King Tut came from, they're trying to stake claim to what the real Jews had in the beginning. Now they're trying to come in and say, well, it was us, when it's proven that they're Khazars. It's already proven through their own historians that they are not from the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Yes, they're from the seed of Abraham and Isaac, but they're not from Jacob. They're Edomites, they're Esau. So they cannot stake claim to that land. Now they try to stake claim through Isaac and through Abraham, stealing their little brother's seed, stealing their little brother's promise, and stealing their little brother's blessing. But it's not theirs. They just feel that they have been unrightfully, that those blessings have unrightly been taken from them. Listen to this clearly.
It says, asserting that Israel has the right to Egyptian land are completely false. The ambassador has never conducted an interview with Ma'arif and never made any of the reported statements. We encourage journalists to call our press office, which is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to check the facts about U.S. government policies, activities, and statements before publishing stories about the United States.
So one night she got drunk and started popping all this stuff of truth before the diplomats, started speaking all these things against the diplomats. Now Israel tried to spin it and say, well, this is where you need to go to find out what was really said. To try to turn it down because she let the cat out of the bag. But I'm showing you there's some serious news going on here according to prophecy. While you out there looking at the Boston Marathon and all that mess. You understand what? That's a total diversion. I don't care what's going on with the so-called patsies they got, who was their relative, where they live, where they went to school, what their mother's saying, what their uncle is saying, because that's what be your news for the next couple of weeks while Israel is about to attack Iran. Okay? And while they're setting up a grid so that the children of Israel don't make their way back into the areas that the Most High prophesied they would come back to in the end times. That's what the grid is being set for. Now, Let's see what the Most High have to say about this according to Scripture. Get Isaiah 13. I need you to go to Jeremiah. Right? I need you to go to Jeremiah 51 first. Let's go through it.
Jeremiah chapter 51 verse 1.
Go ahead.
Thus saith the Most High Ahijah, Behold, I will raise up against Babylon and against them that dwell in the midst of them, that rise up against me, a destroying wind.
Go ahead.
And will send unto Babylon fanners, that shall fan her, and shall empty her land.
And shall what?
And shall empty her land.
And shall empty her land. Go ahead.
For in the day of trouble they shall be against her round about.
The day of trouble. What trouble? Go to Jeremiah 30. What trouble? Go ahead.
Jeremiah chapter 30 verse 7. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble.
It is even the time of what?
Of Jacob's trouble.
It's the even time. It's even the time of Jacob's trouble. So when we're talking about trouble that Christ was speaking of in Matthew 24 also, it's speaking of the trouble that will eventually lead to Israel coming like a baby, a newborn baby after much pain and contraction of a woman. It's talking about Israel being born through trouble. That's what it's speaking of. So that's why we've been afflicted by the nations. We're actually coming into our own. And as we get closer, the pains will get worse and worse and worse. But not that we should fear. But the trouble it's speaking of is what?
It is even the time of Jacob's trouble.
It's Jacob's trouble. It's the world aiming towards destroying us, knowing that our time is near. That's the trouble it's speaking of. It's not speaking of trouble to Christians and all that mess they be talking about. It's talking about God's people because of our DNA structure, because of who we are in the earth, because of who we are physically, genetically. We are the people with the promise. They're looking to come against us. Let's go back. I just wanted to show them what trouble it was speaking of there. Let's go back to Jeremiah 51. Pick off from where you left.
Jeremiah chapter 51. This is the end of verse 2.
Go ahead.
For in the day of trouble they shall be against her round about.
They shall be against her around about. Talking about Babylon.
Verse 3. Against him that bendeth, let the archer bend his bow.
Let the archer bend his bow. What archer? We're going to show you who the archer is. Read.
And against him that lifteth himself up in his brigandine, and spare ye not her young men, destroy ye utterly all her hosts. Thus the slain shall fall in the land of the Chaldeans.
Now, some people out there would like to say, well, this happened already. Now, did Babylon fall as an empire already? Absolutely, ancient Babylon. But we're going to prove to you that this scripture, these chapters, are prophetic for today. We're going to prove it. Because there's things in the Jeremiah 51 that did not happen to ancient Babylon. And I'm going to point them out. Read.
Verse 4. Thus the slain shall fall in the land of the Chaldeans.
Go ahead.
And they that are thrust through in her streets. For Israel hath not been forsaken, for Judah of his power, of his God, of the Most High of hosts, though their land was filled with sin against the Holy One of Israel.
Though we fell as a people, though we sinned against our God, the Most High never forgot us. So while we were enslaved in America with enslaved ships, while the North American Indians were put on plantations, while the Bliqua Taino Indians were being killed, women raped, and all those things, the Most High never forgot us. One day he would save us from the pearls and from the evils that have been placed on us by our enemies. One day he will. He would. Listen to this clearly. Verse
6. Flee out of the midst of Babylon.
So why does it say flee out of the midst of Babylon? Go back to the first verse again.
Jeremiah chapter 51 verse 1.
Read.
Thus saith the Most High Ahijah, Behold, I will raise up against Babylon and against them that dwell in the midst of them.
Them that dwell in the midst of them. That means if you're living in the midst of Babylon, archers are being prepared. Read.
Of them that rise up against me a destroying wind.
A destroying wind. What is that destroying wind? The destroying wind is nuclear fire. That's the destroying wind. We're going to show you. And see, that's why the Most High is warning his people who can see and those that are with the understanding to move out of the way. Because this is what's coming to those in the midst of her. When it says in the midst of her, read it again.
Thus saith the Lord of hosts, thus saith the Most High, behold, I will raise up against Babylon and against them that dwell in the midst of them.
In the midst of them dwell. Look at that word dwell. It's habitation, living places. That means if you got a house there or an apartment there, if you live there, you're in the midst of her. Now go back to that midst you just left off at with the other verse.
Verse 6. Flee out of the midst of Babylon.
Now hold up. Now did that saying leave the Christian church? Is that saying leave Islam? So when you link up those myths, it's the Most High warning his people to do something physically. Okay, finish reading.
Jeremiah chapter 51 verse 6. Flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul.
And deliver every man his soul. Go ahead.
Be not cut off in her iniquity.
Do not be cut off in her iniquity. Why? Because if you don't get from the midst of her, then the pain that's coming to her will hit you too. That's what it's saying. And I'm going to prove that. Read.
For this is the time of the Most High's vengeance.
Because he's coming with vengeance. They're stirring up in hornet's nest with this war with Iran. It's Bible prophecy. See, I would like to point to this more so than what happened at the Boston Marathon. That's a diversion. The Senate just passed a bill that said that the Americans, the troops that signed up for war, will soon be in war with Iran to defend Israel. Not to defend us, the Israelites, to defend the Jewish state of Israel. Listen to this clearly.
This is the middle of verse 6. Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of the Most High's vengeance.
This is the time of the Most High's vengeance. Read.
He will render unto her a recompense. Verse 7. Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Most High's hand.
Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Most High's hand,
that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore the nations are mad.
Therefore all the other nations who have been in bed with America have lost their minds. They all became rich with America, in league with her. But now they are mad. They've lost their mind. Because why? They believed in this dream. They believed in this democracy. They believed in that order. So soon they're going to suffer some of the consequences also. Read.
Jeremiah chapter 51 verse 8. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her. Take balm for her pain. If so be she may be healed.
Go ahead.
We would have healed Babylon.
We would have healed Babylon. That's for those who are still praying for her, saying that she need to turn back to her righteous ways and turn back to the time when America was built on God. Let me tell you, that place was never built on God. Never. If there was an opportunity for her to be healed, she would have been healed already. But you would think that she would say, well, listen, no more evil. I don't want the pain to come. But no, gay rights, homosexual marriages, and all this mess they bringing forth now, they're going further into iniquity. Read.
We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed.
But she is not healed. Read.
Forsake her.
Forsake her. That means get ready to get away from her. Forsake her. Now, here's the deal, and I've been saying this for a while. Brothers and sisters, especially our brothers and sisters, I know the Most High is going to make a way for a lot of us. But think of this. There's very few of us, especially from Babylon, with dual citizenship. Do you know that if you're born a Jewish person anywhere in the earth, it gives you automatic status to have citizenship in another country outside of your home country? They're the only people in the earth that have a status because they're Jewish or born Jewish that they can go someplace else. We don't have those options. See, that's why the Jewish people can say, well, okay, I need Barack Obama to sign this and fight our wars and all that. Because why? Who's going to suffer the biggest penalty? Think about it. They can displace themselves and go from one place to the next while Babylon falls. But a lot of us don't have those options. Only the Most High can help us in those days, especially if we're not out before the borders close. Listen to this clearly.
We would have healed Babylon.
We would have healed Babylon.
But she is not healed.
Now hold up. I'm teaching these scriptures. I'm reading it exactly how it's saying. Is this a doctrine I'm reading? Is what I'm saying right now a doctrine? Or is this the word of the Most High? It's not a doctrine. It's what the Bible says. Read that last part again for me, lawyer, please.
Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 9.
Go ahead.
We would have healed Babylon.
We would have healed her, right?
But she is not healed.
But she is not healed. There's no way we can help this place. There's no praying for Babylon. How can you pray for a place that's destroyed according to prophecy? Listen clearly.
Forsake her, and let us go everyone into his own country.
And let us go everyone into his own country. See that? Now, what nation is made out of every country on earth? You got it. So the Bible is saying those who can see, those that are following the Most High, to forsake her and get your mindset and get things squared away to go into the country of your fathers, to go back to where you came from. Now, that's a dilemma for us as a people because we can't go back to Israel. Not right now. Christ will take us back into Israel. But there are places on the borders and on the outer skirts that we should be, according to Isaiah the 11th chapter. Okay? I would never suggest right now that any of our brothers and sisters go into Israel because I know what's going to happen according to the Bible. That land will be laid desolate also right after the war with Iran. So they will temporarily be able to go there. But then they're going to move into Chittim for a while before they go back into Europe and talk about the Jewish powers. The majority of people that are over there now who were there with them, who came over there in 1948, the majority of these people and their children are going to be sacrifices. They're going to be sacrifices. And the diplomats and those that are ruling at the top of the realm of Israel is going back to Europe. So I wouldn't suggest someone flee Babylon and go to Israel. That's not a good idea. Okay? And the only reason they allowed our people to go there when they didn't let them before, I'm talking about Ben-Ami and so on and so forth, is because they needed a cover while they built their nuclear program in Dimona. They needed a cover. So if people are building there, they can build too. Their nuclear plants. And go under the radar so that they're not going against the Nuclear Proliferation Act. So the reason first they was holding the brothers from Dimona from going over there. But then they had a meeting and said, you know what, we can use them. We want to build a nuclear plant there. Just tell them they can have this land for them. And while they're building there, we'll have our plant. They can be the cover while we build our nuclear reactors and nuclear plants. That's why they allowed our brothers over there. Not because it was some revelation of us going back to Israel. No man is going to deliver us back to the Most High in Israel. Not no man that was born here with us. Christ will deliver us back to Israel. So we're not supposed to go back there. Okay? Finish reading.
This is the end of verse 9. For her judgment reacheth unto heaven.
For her judgment reacheth unto heaven. It's talking about America's space junk that they put out there. They're digital angels. They're satellites they've placed around the earth. Read.
And is lifted up to the skies. Verse 10. The Most High Ahia have brought forth our righteousness.
Go ahead.
Come, and let us declare in Zion the work of the Most High, our power.
And it says, brought forth our righteousness. That's a prophecy of Christ. So we must declare Christ our Savior. Read.
Jeremiah 51 and 11. Make bright the arrows.
Make bright the what?
Make bright the arrows.
See, back then, there was no such thing as a nuclear program. So what was Jeremiah seeing here? He was seeing the future. Something looked like an arrow shooting through the air that can destroy a country. You know what that is? You got it. Nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons. Also, another thing that had been reported last week in Illinois, you can actually research this while you were looking at the Boston Marathon false flag garbage, that there's a nuclear reactor threat in Illinois, right outside Illinois right now. We spoke of that about 8 months ago. They said that it's a serious, dire scenario right now in Illinois with their nuclear reactor. That there's a chance what happened in Japan is going to happen in Illinois. That's the state Barack Obama comes from. So all this is culminating into one big disaster. Why? Because all the nuclear reactors are strategically in America on fault lines. So when the nuclear thing hit there, when it do hit, it's going to break America into 3 parts, according to Scripture. And a matter of fact, I'm not going to go into it today, but we got a lesson coming where the Scriptures show you exactly when this war break out, where it will hit. Elder and Brother Yirach Mill went over this with us about 4 days ago. We sat down and went through the whole thing, and it's crystal clear how it's going to be a reaction throughout the whole United States, but it must hit one point within the United States. And it's right there in Scripture, the exact place where it will hit. Only thing I can say right now is that we're going to go into it soon, but it's going to cause a chain reaction throughout the whole United States. And that's why what's going on with Iran is deeper than what happened with the Boston Marathon. That law that the Senate signed into law to back Israel against Iran is way bigger, because when these archers draw back their bow and the missiles are launched and it hit that place, there will be a chain reaction throughout the whole United States. And that's the grid they're really putting in place. They're putting in a grid for what happens after the disaster. And I'm going to tell you, when this war break out with Iran, this is not going to be no false flags that we're speaking of here. What we're reading here is not a false flag. This is a direct result of them going against Iran. And eventually, is what the Most High will use to begin to set his people free. You can't have a superpower in the earth that all the earth look to as the kingdom, and Christ's kingdom too. Read.
Verse 11. Make bright the arrows, gather the shields.
Yeah, and Brother Dell made a point that there's giant sinkholes there too. I think about 3-4 days ago, 3 cars, about 2 days ago, 3 cars fell into a sinkhole in Illinois. It's sinkholes. That means the earth is cracking up right before our eyes. People are falling into sinkholes. Cars are falling into sinkholes. Bridges are actually loosening in certain areas. They're not telling the population. Read.
Make bright the arrows.
Make bright the arrows.
Gather the shields.
Gather the shields.
The Most High Ahiah have raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes.
Hold up. The Most High have raised up who?
The spirit of the kings of the Medes.
The spirit of the kings of the Medes. Who are the Medes? The Iranians. The Iranians. They are Japhetic. See, a lot of you think because they live in the Middle East, or they're close to the Middle East, that they are Arab. They are not. They're not Ishmael. They're Japhetic. They're Asian. Japhetic people are Asian. Chinese, Japanese, Iranians. They are Asian. They are Japhetic. Read.
This is the end of verse 11. For his device is against Babylon to destroy it.
So the Most High has a spirit in this device they call the nuclear weapon. Who do you think gave them the idea? Who do you think put it in their minds to create it? The Most High builded the smith that blew up the coals. Let's go there real quick in Isaiah.
Isaiah chapter 54 verse 16.
Go ahead.
Behold, I have created the smith that blew up the coals in the fire.
Who do you think created the smith that blew up the coal in the fire? Read.
And that bringeth forth an instrument for his work.
So the Most High had them make these missiles for his work. Read.
And I have created the waster to destroy.
And so the Most High put the mindset in them to create the waster to destroy. And when you blowing something in the coal, you're shaping iron. What is this? A weapon that the Most High put in their mind to make that will lead to a total annihilation during what they call the apocalypse, the end times. Now, yes, the earth will survive a few years, a good while even after that. It's going to show you that. But not only do the Bible tell you the Most High have a spirit in the weapons that they made, okay, with this fire, or that wind that comes from the nuclear power after the bombs hit. Not only that, you understand? The Most High himself, listen to this clearly, also placed people in Babylon at the very end to tell everyone what will be utilized, what will be used. And he's pointing to the country that will use it. See, you see why I don't have to be going through well, it's Russia, it's that country or that country. You don't have to go through all that. Everyone is looking at Russia. Russia is not the country to look at. Okay? Russia have been used under the Edomite powers. They are Jewish too. They're no different than Democrat and Republican. Communism and democracy is no different than Democrat and Republican. It's the same construct with the same ideology. But they make you think that there's one against the other. It's to control the people and to sell the population patriotism. So don't look at Russia either. The Bible tells us who we need to look at. Who are they again?
The Most High have raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes.
The kings of the Medes. That's Iran. So this news report I've just said earlier have way more weight, have greater weight than what everyone is looking at with that Boston Marathon. That's a total diversion. We need to know why the Senate would pass a bill that have our young men die in a war of biblical proportion. That should be the discussion. Read.
For his device is against Babylon to destroy it.
Because the Most High's device is against Babylon. To what?
To destroy it.
To destroy it. Read.
Because it is the vengeance of the Most High, the vengeance of his temple.
Because it's the Most High's word, which don't come back void. The Most High's vengeance is against Babylon. Why? Babylon did worse than all the other empires that have enslaved God's people. At least in captivity under Rome, under the Persians. We were in captivity under Iran at one time, or had to pay tribute to them. The same as ancient Babylon. At least during all those empires, no one was stealing our identity and telling us we were someone else. At least back then we knew who we were and that there was a law that we must uphold. Okay? Babylon gave God's people no respect. Read that last part again for me, please.
This is the end of verse 11.
Yes.
Because it is the vengeance of the Most High.
The Most High is going to seek vengeance against his people. Why? Because his people are broken. They're not even in a position to fight for themselves. They don't even think about it. I mean, a lot of them think they're free. They don't even know that by losing your national origin, losing your law, that you lose your place of being on earth. Without a law and without a country, you have no purpose. And the majority of our people don't even know that all that was taken from them. The Most High have to plead these causes. He have to stand for these causes. Because a lot of us are running around believing we're free. Listen to this clearly.
This is the end of verse 11.
Go ahead.
The vengeance of his temple. Verse 12. Set up this standard upon the walls of Babylon. Make the watch strong. Set up the watchmen. Prepare the ambushes. For the Most High, Ahiah, have both devised and done that which he spake against the inhabitants of Babylon. Verse 13. O thou that dwellest upon many waters.
O thou that what?
That dwellest upon many waters.
That dwellest upon many waters. More proof that this ain't talking about ancient Babylon. Babylon wasn't known for this. America, under the Roman imperial ideology, have placed a base in every country on earth. That's how you know it's speaking of America. Who dwelleth what?
O thou that dwellest upon many waters.
Upon many waters. Have a base everywhere. Read.
Abundant in treasures.
Abundant in treasures. And you know that the whole economy is running off what? The petrodollar. America set the president for all finances throughout the earth, through Wall Street. They say it goes down, the dollar goes down, they go down. If they want it to go up, it goes up. Read.
Thine end is come.
Thine what?
Thine end is come.
So there's a direct correlation between the Persians and the end of Babylon, according to the Bible. A direct correlation. So when I read that report that just came out that the Senate just passed, I'm like, I see why they had to do a Boston Marathon, or what. I'm surprised they didn't do another false flag and have you like a dog chasing your tail. Because this is news. Who cares about the Boston Marathon? It means absolutely nothing. The only significant thing about that is that you can see it's fulfilling the prophecy when Christ say, when you shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, flee into the mountains, flee into the wilderness. They're just using a pretext to occupy you with military. That's the sign there. Not whether or not someone blew something at a marathon. You have to look at what they're doing based on the false flag to see the sign. And then know what to do according to that. Okay? Because now it's going to get crazy. I'm going to address that in a moment, but finish reading. I'm going to show you. I'm going to go through this chapter here.
This is the end of verse 13.
Go ahead.
And the measure of thy covetousness. Verse 14. The Most High, Ahiah of hosts, hath sworn by himself, saying...
Hold up. If the Most High swear, you know this will happen. And you know what? It's going to happen even if you don't believe the Bible. So I know some people find that as a way of trying to escape the prophecies and saying, well, the Bible, who wrote the Bible? This might not be true. For your sake, okay, just for your conscience sake, you have convinced yourself that is not true. But everything the Bible said would happen, did happen. And that cannot be disputed. So whether or not you agree with this or not, who cares? It's still going to happen according to the Bible. Read that again. The Most High swore what?
Have sworn by himself.
Go ahead.
Saying, surely I will fill thee with men.
Sure, I will fill thee with men. What men? You know what men? The Medes. Read.
As with caterpillars.
As with caterpillars. They're going to be everywhere. And don't think they can't be everywhere. Where are your troops? The troops of Babylon have been scattered on many waters. There's no one to defend the homeland. It's vulnerable. This is the wrong time. This is the wrong time to be looking for another war. See that? There's no one to defend. All the troops within the United States now are foreign troops. So they're going to be running through that country like caterpillars with no one to defend the people. Listen to this clearly. Go ahead.
But it's the end of verse 14. And they shall lift up a shout against thee. Verse 15. He hath made the earth by his power. He hath established the world by his wisdom. And have stretched out the heaven by his understanding. Verse 16. When he uttereth his voice, there is a multitude of waters in the heavens. And he causeth the vapors to ascend from the ends of the earth. He maketh lightnings with rain, and bringeth forth the wind out of his treasures. Every man is brutish by his knowledge. Every founder is confounded by the graven image. For his molten image is falsehood, and there is no breath in him, or in them. Verse 18.
Speaking of those idols, compared to our God who created the heavens, who opened up portals and sent forth lightning and clouds, rain. Read.
Jeremiah 51 and 18. They are vanity, the work of errors. In the time of their visitation they shall perish.
They shall perish. You know it's speaking of that greatest idol they have there that the French gave the United States of America. The great whore, the Statue of Liberty. It's an idol. Read.
Verse 19. The portion of Jacob is not like them.
And God's people are not like these other people. Why? That's why they're trying to enforce their liberal thinking on us. They're softening our people who was once spiritual. They're making us believe that it's okay to accept immoral behavior. We're not like them. They're not trying to push on the Catholic Church or the Protestant Church homosexuality. Ain't nothing but homosexuals all up in those churches. They're trying to get the black churches and the minority churches to accept that lifestyle. Why? Because we're naturally not like them. They're trying to break us into believing that their wicked lifestyle is okay. And it's working with our people in Babylon. Read.
The portion of Jacob is not like them.
God's people are not like them. Read.
For he is the former of all things.
For he is the former of all things. We are like our Father. We can create. Now the other nations, because we fail, are managing what we create and are benefiting from what we create. But if they wouldn't have enslaved us, what would these countries be? There was no electricity in America before we got there. We were dealing with electricity in Africa. A matter of fact, in Egypt, in ancient Egypt, we were dealing with light bulbs without wires. They didn't discover nothing. Okay, it was our people who formed the things in the earth that can be utilized. But the other nations took advantage of what the Most High put in us. And our God is not like their God. Okay? The Gentiles' gods. Buddha is nothing. The other gods, Allah, whoever you want to call them, are nothing. Even the Jewish God that they worship, which is Satan, nothing. They God of the Tetragrammaton, nothing. But the God, the great I am, is the God of all gods. Read.
And Israel is the rod of his inheritance.
And Israel is the rod of his inheritance. That's why all this war is going down. Because the Most High is releasing his people. All hell is breaking loose. Earthquakes are going on. It's total chaos. Why? It's the same way when a woman is about to have a baby in a room. And she's kicking and screaming and all types of chaos is going on. Then that baby comes and everything calms. So the whole earth is going through confusion right now because that baby is on its way. Who's that? Jacob. Jacob. Jacob is rising. And it culminates with all the prophecies we're reading right now. Read.
The Lord of hosts is his name.
Go ahead.
Verse 20. Thou art my battle axe and weapons of war.
Thou art my battle axe and weapons of war, to show you that eventually the Most High will use his people against the nations. Read.
For with thee will I break in pieces the nations.
Because once our people are broken from our captivity and our brainwashing, we will be utilized under Christ to break the nations and put them in their rightful place. Righteously. Read.
And with thee will I destroy kingdoms.
And with thee I will destroy kingdoms. And that's why they would like to call our people terrorists and all that stuff. Not because of what we're doing. Our people don't think about doing none of these things. But they know according to the scripture what we will become once freed. Listen clearly.
Verse 21. And with thee will I break in pieces the horse and his rider. And with thee will I break in pieces the chariot and his rider.
Those are they that are riding high. Like usually you would have the king riding chariots. Those are they that are standing or sitting high. The Most High is going to use his people to pull them down. Read.
Verse 22. With thee also will I break in pieces man and woman. And with thee will I break in pieces old and young. And with thee will I break in pieces the young man and the maid.
Go ahead.
I will also break in pieces with thee the shepherd and his flock. And with thee will I break in pieces the husbandman and his yoke of oxen. And with thee will I break in pieces captains and rulers. And I will render unto Babylon, to all the inhabitants of Chaldea, all their evil that they have done in Zion in your sight.
See that? All the things they done to Israel while the Most High was looking. And let me tell you, they do things, let me tell you, there's a lot of things we can't even imagine that they have done and continue to do against us, with us in their mind, knowing that we're Israel. Read.
Verse 25. Behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain.
I am against thee, O destroying mountain,
saith the Most High Ahiah, which destroyest the earth, and I will stretch out my hand upon thee, and roll thee down from the rocks, and will make thee a burnt mountain. Verse 26.
Okay, all right. Listen, do I got to interpret? Maybe that's a doctrine too. Maybe that's something we're making up. The Most High have spoken it. Read.
Verse 26. And they shall not take of thee a stone for a corner, nor a stone for foundations, but thou shalt be desolate forever, saith the Most High Ahiah.
I need you to look up that word desolate for me real quick. For anyone who claimed that we're teaching a doctrine, to prove to you this is not speaking of ancient Babylon. Give me that word desolate in the Hebrew, please, to show you this is prophetic for the future Babylon. I said I would mark every time the scripture would speak in future tense. Give me the definition, lawyer. You got it in the Strong's there? All right, thank you. Let me get the definition of desolate there.
The definition, Shema, It says devastation, figuratively astonishment. Laid most desolation, waste.
Laid waste. You know what that means? No habitation. No one inhabiting the land. How do we know this is not speaking of ancient Babylon here in Jeremiah? Because Iraq is part of ancient Babylon. And they had a king, Saddam Hussein, from the remnant of people who was living there since ancient Babylon. There was never a time where Iraq and that area had no people. So that didn't happen in the past. Babylon or ancient Iraq was never laid desolate where no man or woman lived there. That proved this is speaking of this Babylon, the daughter of Babylon. Finish reading.
Verse 27.
Go ahead.
Set ye up a standard in the land.
Set ye up a standard in the land.
Blow the trumpet among the nations.
Go ahead.
Prepare the nations against her.
Prepare the nations against her. So the Most High of the heavenly angels preparing the nations for this war to come that they're not telling you about while you look at the Boston Marathon. Read.
Call together against her the kingdoms of Ararat.
Go ahead.
Meni and Ashkenaz. Appoint a captain against her.
Appoint a captain against her. And this is speaking of the original Japhetic people, including China. See, the Jewish people today, they're not Ashkenazi. They went into the land and took on the name Ashkenazi, but they're not from the children of Japheth. This is speaking of the Chinese people. This is speaking of the Japhetic people. This is speaking of who's leading them? Iran is going to lead this charge. They're brothers. Read.
Cause the horses to come up as the rough caterpillars. Verse 28. Prepare against her nations with the kings of the Medes.
With the who?
With the kings of the Medes.
There you go. Who's that? Iran. Stop looking at Russia. Even all these Christian so-called prophetic preachers be trying to say, and Russia going to do this, and Russia, oh, watch out, Rexella, as Russia come do this and tell you in Hosea 15 and all that mess he be talking. You understand? Ignore Russia. Russia have nothing to do with this prophecy. Russia is them. Okay? That's why you're looking in America today seeing Russian TV. They was always together. While they were claiming that Russia was against them and Rocky was fighting the Russian, you had Russia and America building the space station Mir together. Okay? Who you need to look at? Iran, according to the Bible. Gog and Magog have nothing to do with Russia. Why? Because they weren't the original people of the inhabitants of Gog and Magog. Gog and Magog, the original Japhetic people, were moved out of that area during the times after Alexander the Greek. And Europeans or Edomites took over that land. So when it says Gog and Magog, it's not speaking of the imposters that are living in Gog and Magog. It's speaking of the original people. Read on.
This is the end of verse 28. The captains thereof and all their rulers thereof and all the land of his dominion. Verse 29. And the land shall tremble and sorrow, for every purpose of the Most High Ahia shall be performed against Babylon, to make the land of Babylon a desolation without inhabitant.
Hold up, without what?
Without inhabitant.
Without what?
Without an inhabitant.
Are people inhabiting Iraq and the parts of Babylon now? Yes. To prove to you this scripture have never happened. That this is speaking of a future prophecy. You see that? It's not speaking of ancient Babylon. This is future prophecy. Why? Because there's people still living in Iraq, which is Babylon, the original Babylon. See that? Read on.
Verse 30. The mighty men of Babylon have forborne to fight. They have remained in their holds. Their might have failed.
Their might have failed. Why? The military have been spread throughout the four corners of the earth now. There's no one to plead or fight Babylon's cause. And they're still creating a new war they know they can't defend against. Read.
They became as women. They have burnt her dwelling places.
And who does it say have became as women? It's speaking of the men of war. They become as women. Why? America is the only military you see compared to the rest of the world. You think in Iran they got a don't ask, don't tell program? Those are men ready for battle. Not no men desiring other men and all that madness. They're celebrating with military men of the United States are walking down in a parade holding a flag with a leather thong on. That's why the Most High tell them they're going to be like women there. All types of mess, leather on them and nipples, all types of stuff hanging out. And it's like, what's going on here? They have been made like women, their own military, like women. Totally disgusted. So now the military have been broken. They have even given the military in the United States, in the Western world, they give them medication that actually lowers their desires and all that for women. Turning people into sodomites. So the Most High says he has made them like women now. So there's no defense. Read.
They became as women.
They became as women.
They have burnt her dwelling places.
They have burnt her dwelling places.
Her bars are broken.
Her bars are broken. So this is what they're really preparing the citizens for. An all-out war. Read.
Verse 31. One post shall run to meet another, and one messenger to meet another, to show the king of Babylon that his city is taken to one end, and that the passages are stopped, and the reeds they have burnt with fire. And the men of war are affrighted, for thus saith the Most High, Ahiah of hosts, the power of Israel. The daughter of Babylon is like a
who?
The daughter of Babylon is like a threshing floor.
This is how you know we're speaking of the daughter of Babylon. So it's not speaking of ancient Babylon. Now it's transitioned right into the daughter now. To let you know who it was speaking about. This was prophetic. Read.
It is time to thresh her, yet a little while, and the time of her harvest shall come.
Go ahead.
Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, hath devoured me. He hath crushed me. He hath made me an empty vessel. He hath swallowed me up like a dragon. He hath filled his belly with my delicates.
And Nebuchadnezzar represents what? The spirit of the king of Babylon. Who would be the spirit of the king of Babylon now? Your modern day, or whom you would call your president. Why? They tell you in scriptures that Nebuchadnezzar was like an idol. Where it talks about the body of a lion and the head of a man. And the face of a man, which was Nebuchadnezzar. He was like an idol. Now look at how they uphold the president. You would think Christ returned back already. Like an idol. Read.
Verse 35. The violence done to me and to my flesh be upon Babylon, shall the inhabitant of Zion say, and my blood upon the inhabitants of Chaldea, shall Jerusalem say.
Go ahead.
Therefore thus saith the Most High, Ahiah, behold, I will plead thy cause and take vengeance for thee, and I will dry up her sea and make her springs dry.
Go ahead.
And Babylon shall become heaps as a dwelling place for dragons, and astonishment, and an hissing without inhabiting.
Without what?
Without an inhabitant.
Without an inhabitant. To show you this wasn't talking about the time of Nebuchadnezzar. Because people still live in Iraq after Nebuchadnezzar. See that? Read.
Verse 38. They shall roar together like lions. They shall yell as lions' whelps. In their heat I will make their feast, and I will make them drunken, that they may rejoice and sleep a perpetual sleep and not wake, saith the Most High Ahia. Verse 40. I will break them down like lambs to the slaughter, like rams with he-goats. How is Shashak taken, and how is the praise of the whole earth surprised? How is Babylon become an astonishment among the nations?
How have Babylon become an astonishment among the nations? That means the whole world will see, will witness this destruction. And it links directly to Revelations 18, when all the nations and all the kings of the earth are crying and bewailing her, because they can no more celebrate her glory. They can no more hear her great music, or go over there and get rich off of her and go build and then bring the money back to their country. It's going to be over. Read.
Verse 42. The sea is come up upon Babylon.
What's coming up upon Babylon?
The sea is come up upon Babylon.
And that's a direct result of the nuclear hit. Tsunami. Read.
She is covered with the multitude of the waves thereof.
She is covered with what?
With the multitude of the waves thereof.
She's covered with the multitude of the waves thereof. And it's coming from what? Hold it and get Revelation 16 and 19. Start at 18.
Revelation chapter 16, verse 18.
Go ahead. Then go right back, please, all right?
Mm-hmm. And there were voices and thunders and lightnings, and there was a great earthquake, such as was not since men were upon the earth.
Go ahead.
So mighty an earthquake and so great, and great the city was divided, and the great city was divided into three parts.
Into what?
Into three parts.
Go ahead.
And the cities of the nations fell, and great Babylon came in remembrance before the Most High.
And great what?
And great Babylon came in remembrance before the Most High.
How could it be speaking of future tense Babylon in Revelations when John was on the Isle of Patmos during the Roman rule? Is that ancient Babylon too? Read it.
To give unto her the cup of the wine of the fierceness
Go
of
ahead.
his wrath.
Same thing. The Most High is showing his vengeance. Show me, go into the verse where it talks about fell upon her like lead.
Verse 20.
Read.
And every island fled away.
Every island fled away.
And the mountains were not found.
Go ahead.
Verse 21. And there fell upon men a great hail out of heaven.
A hail out of heaven, like something coming down to the earth. Read.
Every stone about the weight of a talent.
Go ahead.
And men blasphemed the Most High because of the plague of the hail.
The plague of the hail is speaking of the nuclear missiles. Something coming down to the earth like hail with the weight of a talent. It's speaking of the missiles that will be launched. That will eventually lead to Babylon being broken in how many pieces? A great earthquake that leads to what? America being broken down into three separate parts. Now, on your own time, you can Google earthquake Madrid fault line or map of America after great earthquake Madrid fault line, and you will see they have a future naval map of America broke in three places. Why would the Navy have that? Why is there a naval map? You can look at it yourself while you're actually listening to this lesson. Go to Google and type in naval map America broken in three places. Naval map. Okay. Now, whether or not you believe the scriptures, obviously somebody in the Navy must believe it, or they have seen something physically to tell you that whatever John said on the Isle of Patmos will come to pass. So we don't care if people claim they don't believe the Bible. Why is everything the Bible is saying happening? The prophecies bear witness to the truth. Finish reading.
This is going back to Jeremiah 51.
Yes.
The sea, this is verse 42. The sea is come upon Babylon.
The sea have come upon Babylon.
She is covered with the multitude of the waves thereof.
Go ahead, let you know that there will be a flood, and it's going to come from the east coast.
Her cities are a desolation, a dry land,
Go ahead.
and a wilderness.
And a wilderness. That means no more great city. Read.
A land in wherein no man dwelleth.
A land wherein what?
No man dwelleth.
That have never happened to ancient Babylon. This is not a doctrine. This is scripture. You know, and I keep repeating this because I hear some people out there saying, well, the flea doctrine. This ain't no flea doctrine. This is thus saith the Most High. He have sworn with an oath what we're reading. How can someone come and stake claim to a doctrine of this? Read.
This is the end of verse 43.
Go ahead.
Neither doeth any son of man pass thereby. Verse 44. And I will punish Baal in Babylon, and I will bring forth out of his mouth that which he hath swallowed up. And the nations...
Hold up. What did they swallow up? The nations, Babylon, swallowed up God's people. So this is a pretext to free us. We must be free. And the Most High got to do it this way. Let me tell you, if he didn't do it this way, we would stay under Babylon forever. I don't want that. I don't know any other place to do this. I love it. I can go shopping. This is our mindset. Look at the other countries. At least we free. Let me tell you, those in Babylon have no idea what freedom is. The only freedom you get is what you see on TV. But you're not exercising no freedom when you walk out your doors. Okay, it's a mirage. Finish reading.
And I will punish Babylon in Babylon, and I will bring forth out of his mouth that which ye have swallowed up. And the nations shall not flow together any more unto him.
No more nations are going to be coming to her to become great or to make it in the big city. It's over. Thus saith the Most High. Read.
Yea, the wall of Babylon shall fall. My people, go ye out of the midst of her.
Read it again.
Jeremiah 51 and 45. My people.
Now, if you're not the Most High's people, this don't apply to you. That means if you don't believe in the Most High and you don't believe what he's saying, this don't apply to you. But if you are God's people and you believe that this word is what he's saying, this is for you. Read that again.
My people.
My people.
Go ye out of the midst of her.
Go ye out of the midst of her.
And deliver ye every man his soul.
And that way you're going to deliver your soul
from the fierce anger of the Most High Ahia.
From everything we've just read. You'll deliver yourself from the Persians shooting missiles because you're not in the midst of her where the missiles are. You deliver yourself from the men running around like caterpillars, all the foreign troops, because you're not in the midst of where all the foreign troops are. You won't be displaced into another area after the great earthquake and be moved based on some agenda they have with military because you won't be there. Now, can it get as elementary as that? And I know somebody somewhere will look at this and take about a minute and 30 seconds of the clip without playing the whole thing and say, hold up, here go the Flee Babylon doctrine, and say things I didn't say, insinuate something by using my face and speaking. This is what they do. As if this is something that we've come up with. Like I went somewhere and grabbed every Bible in the world and penned Jeremiah 31. Listen clearly. Read.
Verse 46. Lest your heart faint.
If you don't listen to this, What will happen?
Unless your heart faint,
Lest your heart faint,
and ye fear for the rumor that shall be heard in the land.
and you all upset and you're fearful because you hear on their public announcement, this is not a test. That this country or one country have launched this and launched that. Now you're running around fearing for the rumor that you would get from your news program or from your iPhone or from someplace that you need to report to a bomb shelter someplace, and they didn't tell me in the ghetto where the bomb shelter was. So the Most High says, listen to this, or you're going to be one person fearful of the rumor of this happening. You will hear it and not be able to do anything about it. Read it again. Your heart will faint.
And ye fear for the rumor that shall be heard in the land.
What rumor? Wars. You hear rumors of wars. Rumors of wars. So why did the Most High say, leave from the midst of her? Read that again.
Unless your heart faint.
Because if you don't do it, your heart will faint.
And ye fear for the rumor that shall be heard in the land.
And you're going to be fearful of the rumor when you see it coming and knowing it was Bible prophecy and there's nothing you can do. And that's thus saith the Lord. Read.
A rumor shall both come 1 year, and after that in another year shall come a rumor, and violence in the land, ruler against ruler.
Ruler against ruler. You heard a rumor before and there was a war. And it led to the war we are about to see now. Here's another rumor. And listen, I didn't make up the rumor. I just read a report of what's really going on while people are looking at the Boston Marathon. Every news program in circulation, and you can go every place, they're talking about the Boston Marathon. It's a purpose diversion from you not seeing that the Most High's prophecy is about to go down in this earth. It's a straight diversion. Read on.
Verse 47. Therefore, behold, the days come that I will do judgment upon the graven images of Babylon.
And you know what that graven image, they've been showing in all these movies, that graven image get rocked. Either it's underwater or leaning sideways. They're showing you, they're telling you the future. Read.
Therefore, behold, the days come that I will do judgment upon the graven images of Babylon, and her whole land shall be confounded.
And her whole land shall be confounded.
And all her slain shall fall in the midst of her.
And all her slain shall fall in the midst of her. Read.
Verse 48. Then the heaven and the earth, and all that is therein, shall sing for Babylon, for the spoiler shall come unto her.
For the spoiler shall come unto her. You know what that spoiler is, right? You got it. That warhead. Read.
From the north, saith the Most High Ahiah.
Go ahead.
As Babylon hath caused the slain of Israel to fall, so at Babylon shall fall the slain of all the earth.
Go ahead.
Verse 50. Ye that have escaped the sword, go away, stand not still.
Hold up. Now, here's the people who've escaped the sword, who listen. I want you to hear this real quick, because now, after Babylon is dealt with, it's talking about some other people now. Listen to me clearly.
Ye that have escaped the sword.
And I hope that whoever view this video and want to put up content concerning what's taught here and what we brought out today, play it in its entirety, which means we don't need someone grabbing a piece of this and interpreting what's being said here to try to spin it as if we are saying something else, because there's a lot of people out there do that, knowing that others will run into their video and say, well, they saying that? Well, that's off. I don't agree with that. When we ain't saying nothing that this character with a computer just said. He just got our face, and then he just moved our face and start talking. So I need anyone out there that's going to go through this video that's going to say that we said anything concerning this, we need you to put this up in its entirety and break down each part at a time and tell us one thing we've said wrong, thus saith the Most High. One thing. And if you can find that one thing, and this is the challenge for those who out there who try to claim that the scriptures are not saying this, we will humbly come on and say, you know what? We got that wrong in that what we just broke down in Jeremiah 51, and we will make a correction on that. One thing. Now listen to this clearly.
Ye that have escaped the sword, go away.
You that escaped the sword, that means you wasn't in the midst of Babylon. You escaped that destruction that the Most High sent. Now mind you, again, Christ is not going to come back to Babylon. This war and this rumors of wars is in Christ's prophecy before he comes. I mean, it's well before he comes back. These wars and rumors of war is leading to Christ's coming. You understand? Which means when this go down, it's going to be the work of the Most High, giving a sign to the rest of the world that Christ will soon return. So Christ is not going to destroy Babylon. Okay? The Medes will, according to the Bible. And the Most High will have a spirit in their weaponry, according to Jeremiah 51. And this will be a sign to the rest of the world to prepare for the coming of Christ. So there's a next chapter after Babylon no longer exists, is what we're trying to emphasize here. Let's read that.
Ye that have escaped the sword.
Ye that have escaped the sword.
Go away.
Go away.
Stand not still.
Stand not still.
Remember the Most High Ahia afar off.
Remember the Most High where you are in that new country.
And let Jerusalem come into your mind.
And let Jerusalem come into your mind. You're almost home. You're almost home after Babylon is done with. See that? You're almost home. He broke the hand of the greatest master who have ever enslaved you. Now you can start thinking about Jerusalem. But you know that something right after that, something is going to happen there too. That's going to be desolate over there too. So we're going to have to wait till some of that stuff calm down. And a lot of us will be in the wilderness areas and in parts of Egypt. And around the Great Sea, where the ships of Tarshish are. Listen to this clearly. Read.
Verse 51. We are confounded because we have heard reproach. Shame have covered our faces, for strangers are come into the sanctuaries of the Most High's house.
Go ahead.
Verse 52. Wherefore, behold, the days come, saith the Most High Ahia, that I will do judgment upon her graven images, and through all her land the wounded shall groan. Though Babylon should mount up to heaven, and though she should fortify the height of her strength, yet from me shall spoilers come unto her, saith the Most High.
Spoilers shall come unto her. Thus saith who?
Thus saith the Most High.
Thus saith the gathering of Christ Church.
Thus saith the Most High.
Go ahead.
Verse 54. A sound of a cry cometh from Babylon, a great destruction from the land of the Chaldeans. Because the Most High Ahia hath spoiled Babylon, and destroyed out of her the great voice. When her waves do roar, like waters, a noise of the voice is uttered. Because the spoiler is come upon her, even upon Babylon, and her mighty men are taken. Every one of their bows is broken.
Every one of their what?
Every one of their bows is broken.
No strength at all. Babylon broken, according to Scripture. Go ahead.
For the Most High Ahia of recompenses shall surely requite. Verse 57. And I will make drunk her princes and her wise men, her captains and her rulers, and her mighty men, and they shall sleep a perpetual sleep and not wake, saith the king, whose name is the Most High Ahiah of hosts. Thus saith the Most High Ahiah of hosts, the broad walls of Babylon shall be utterly broken.
They shall be broken.
And their high gates shall be burnt with fire.
And their high gates shall be what?
Burnt with fire.
Read.
And the people shall labor in vain, and the folk in the fire, and they shall be weary. The word of Jeremiah the prophet commanded Sariah, the son of Neriah, the son of Messiah, when he went with Zedekiah, the king of Judea, into Babylon in the 4th year of his reign. And this Sariah was a quiet prince. So Jeremiah wrote in a book all the evil that should come upon Babylon, even all these words that are written against Babylon. And Jeremiah said to Sariah, when thou comest to Babylon and shalt see, and shalt read all these words, then shalt thou say, O Ahiah, thou hast spoken against this place to cut it off, that none shall remain in it, neither man nor beast, but it shall be desolate forever.
Desolate for what?
It shall be desolate forever.
Now the reason I read this all the way through, because some would say that we read the scripture and then don't go down to where Jeremiah was actually showing this to someone. Yes, Jeremiah was showing it to someone at that time, but still the prophecies that was written by Jeremiah, a lot of them did not happen during that time. That's the point. Which means when Jeremiah wrote in the book that the land will be desolate, no man and no beast, men and beasts were still living there after Babylon fell. So the future prophecy of Babylon wasn't for that time. The future prophecy of desolation was for the daughter. Okay? Just trying to I'm covering every point here. And not ignore any part. I'm going to read it all the way through so nobody can't say, well, let's go down to Jeremiah and show that Jeremiah wrote this at that time. Common sense will tell you Jeremiah wrote it at that time. We're reading out of the book of Jeremiah. But the point remains that there's things that Jeremiah said that did not happen to ancient Babylon that will happen to modern day Babylon. Is that clear? Hope so. And not that we can be right, so that the Most High can be exalted and everyone can hear his voice and what he's saying. That's the key thing. Read.
Verse 62. Then shalt thou say, O Ahiah, thou hast spoken against this place to cut it off, that none shall remain in it, neither man nor beast, but that it shall be desolate forever.
Forever. And there's man and beast in there right now, in Iraq right now. So that prophecy was not fulfilled. Okay? I'll reiterate. Read.
And it shall be when thou hast made an end of reading this book, that thou shalt bind a stone to it, and shall cast it into the midst of Euphrates. Verse 64. And thou shalt say, thus shall Babylon sink, and shall not rise from the evil that it will bring upon her, that I will bring upon her, and they shall be weary. Thus far are the words of Jeremiah.
Crystal clear. And that's what the world been missing while they're instituting martial law with the Boston Marathon. What's going on over there have nothing to do with someone running and something blowing up and them getting the patsy and all that. It have everything to do with putting their military power in place. Understanding what's imminent. What's imminent? Jeremiah 51, linked with Isaiah 13. It was written, so let it be done. In the name of Ahiah, by Hashem Yeshaya, the water, so be it.